One small miracle in evidence on Tuesday afternoon was a show of comedy between the progressive and establishment factions of the Democratic Party, which have been feuding since the divisive 2016 presidential primary, in which Senator Bernie Sanders, independent of Vermont, made former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton seem like a creature of Wall Street with few ideas for the 21st century. Clinton supporters, by contrast, painted Sanders as a firebrand lacking achievements and substance. Until this week's conclave, there has been little evidence that these divisions might be resolved ahead of the 2018 midterms. But at Wednesday's event, Democrats showed a determination to make the marriage between moderates and progressives work, in large part in order to defeat Republicans in the looming congressional elections and, even more important, reclaim the White House 2 years later. As the conference was about to begin, Fleetwood Mac's "Go Your Own Way" played on the stereo system. It is a song of defiance, loving you/isn't the right thing to do, by a band that played at Bill Clinton's 1993 inauguration ball. But the message wasn't intended for grassroots activists who've come to believe that Clinton's liberal presidency was anything but. That much was made clear by Center for American Progress Vice President Winnie Stachelberg, who opened the event with a reminder of who wakes up at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue each morning. "It's clear that the moment for decisive action is now," Stachelberg said. Others sought to reframe convictions in economic terms, in seeming recognition of how central that issue is becoming to Democratic prospects. "Women in positions of power changes everything," said Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, Democrat of New York, a leader in the Me Too movement. She argued that if women were represented in Congress relative to their share of the general population, that is, at 51%, policy proposals like paid family leave would no longer be the stuff of liberal fantasy. As the cliché du journey dictates, one must walk and chew gum at the same time. Senator Amy Klobuchar, Democrat of Minnesota, assured that her party could do just that. "Progressives can do two things at once. We can, 1, focus on the optimistic economic agenda and what needs to be done there, and, secondly, protect our democracy." Another notable absence was former Vice President Joseph R. Biden, Jr., who would arguably become the Democratic frontrunner the moment he announced for the presidency. He has not made clear whether he will do so. Biden went unmentioned despite the inarguable fact that his entrance into a Democratic primary would radically reconfigure the race. "If we want more success stories like Michael Brown of Houston, then we can't forget about Michael Brown of Ferguson," said Castro, who could declare for the presidency soon. Another likely presidential candidate is Cory A. Booker, Democrat of New Jersey, who delivered the lunchtime keynote address as the Ideas Conference. Indulging his tendency toward orotund rhetoric, Booker delivered an impassioned speech about racial and economic uplift. "A lot of this is common sense," Booker said of proposals like raising the minimum wage and offering universal early education, even if these would have been deemed too radical for the American populace a decade ago. "That's the best use of taxpayer dollars, because it grows the whole." Booker said he'd recently read J.D. Vance's Hillbilly Elegy, a lament for working-class America that had been embraced by many on the right and some on the left. "We in this country have a common pain, but we are lacking a sense of common purpose," he said. "We have to ensure that every single American can find access to a doctor's door when they need it," Kennedy said. Period. He was followed by a fellow legislator from the Bay State, Senator Elizabeth Warren. Much as she did during the 2016 presidential campaign, when she proved a surprisingly eager surrogate for Clinton, Warren tore with relish into Trump, who she said was treating government as just another rich man's toy. She contrasted his version of public service with her own, describing how she had been born in Oklahoma, on the ragged edge of the middle class, married at 19 and seemingly without prospects. "I made it in this country because America gave me a chance," Warren said, sounding very much like a presidential candidate. She has denied that she plans to run. She also urged the audience throw a punch once in a while in defense of American democracy. "A verbal punch," she quickly added.